they're not here. So I'm doing this panel. Screw it. What's up?
Favorite episode from Space Dandy?
Favorite episode from Space Dandy. I'll just say for acting multiverse, for as a viewer, I would say the Limbo Death episode. Yeah.
What's your method? Are there any as a director?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah, please feel free. I have not answered directing questions all weekend. And I'm just gonna cover this real quickly. I directed years ago. I don't call myself a director anymore because I don't want to be one of those actors who's like, I'm a director. When was the last time you directed? Oh, 18 years ago. I don't actually direct. I directed Black Butler, Dance of the Vampire Month, some Initial D, some Spice and Wolf 2.
Shauna movie.
Shauna movie. Something else. A long time ago.
Bakano maybe?
Oh yeah, assistant directing on some Bakano episodes. I didn't do that.
Shopkeeper smells.
I didn't know what the last word was.
Good! It was. It was a fact. And then when they didn't get it, I told them how
I
it was
like
a
that.
fact. You do. You smell good.
Thank you. We're gonna need 2 more chairs.
Cool. So you were mentioning just now about how the director is always right.
Director's always right.
Yeah. Have you ever run into problems like I want to ask honestly? Have you ever run into problems working with other of the Funimation directors like Chris Sabat and Monica Rial? Was there any like production where sometimes you had a really hard time working?
Oh, well, I mean, in all honesty, I would be really, really freaking stupid saying anything, but no, they're all amazing. I'm on camera right now, bro. They are all amazing. They're all the best directors in the entire world. I've never had any negative experiences whatsoever. And oh my god, they're
the dude who directed me in Black Butler, that guy
guy's a
sucks.
douche.
That guy is a douche.
And you can say that, because I don't direct anymore. It's not like I'm going to give you
No,
work.
Ian was a very good director when he directed Black Butler. Yeah, he was.
How was it like directing and playing a character? Like you were also Bart in Black
Oh,
Butler.
yeah.
How do you handle directing and playing characters when you're cast for the roles?
Have you done that?
No, I haven't.
All right.
Oh.
I'm in there, mate.
Good. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Give him a round of applause.
Michael is on his way. He misplaced his bag.
I saw you by the pool this morning. You look so relaxed.
Really?
No, he was chilling out there, and I was like, man, I want to do that.
Wait, you saw me at the pool?
Yeah.
You probably saw some girl at the pool along here. I was up in my room to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
That would have been funny.
That was the most rugged, good-looking
Nice.
woman.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It could have been.
Sunday mornings, right?
But it was Sunday morning, so I was in my boxers with my gut hanging out on the 12th floor, just going like this in the sun.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Question was about self-directing, what that's like. Putting yourself into a show.
Well, I'm a Catholic, so we're not supposed to self-direct. Hey! Hey! Baboomski. No, I've never directed myself.
No?
I end up doing it a lot. But it's all for smaller bits. Generally, if I was the lead character in a thing, I would absolutely not direct myself. But when I do Pokemon, when I play Pokemon creatures, I am directing myself, and there is direction there, and they're not just making sounds. They have emotion. They have, there's character there. So yeah, doing that. I mean, the one thing is when you're the director of the overall project, even if you had someone else direct you, you're still going to be involved because how your part has to fit into the whole. But I mean, yeah, if I was a lead role, I would never, even if it was a thing I was directing and I was cast as the lead, I would have someone else come in and direct me.
Your sessions, at least.
Yeah, with those, because it does help to have a second opinion, a fresh set of eyes.
You know, and it's interesting because a lot of times it's because directors will be hypercritical of themselves and not let takes go by that are fine. Like, that's fine, we can move on.
Yeah.
And if you're directing yourself, you're like, oh God, it's got to be perfect for me, which may not be the right perfect. So it's good to have that third eye outside of you.
Yeah.
The only reason I did self-direct on this, A, I was cast in that before I was asked to direct it, and B, I was kind of told it's a good idea, and it kind of was with the way that Funimation works, to give yourself a small part. I mean, if you're right for it, don't just give yourself a part for a part, but I was thinking about
Cover all your stuff.
Fantastic. You covered all my. Oh yeah,
Did you recover your
left
stuff?
all my things. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Now I have them back. It's great.
we're talking about self-directing. And the idea was you put yourself in a something that you can throw in at any given time, because voice actors like to not show up or call in and say, oh man, I had a late night and I sound like crap. And so because of that, it was nice to be able to be like, well, I've got 2 free hours open now, we'll just record me. And that way you don't lose any time in the booth. And so that's why I think the producer that put me as a director on that show allowed me to do that. She was like, yeah, then you can do that. But no, God no, I would not want to do it. When I did it as Reiner Lute, the director was just like, I'm going to let you direct yourself on this. And I never want to do that again, because you sit there and you're like, is that funny? And the engineer's been working with you on your 7th hour of the day, like, I don't know, bro, like, done.
It's, you know what, I for stuff like Pokemon, for a thing that I do all the time, I usually don't have to labor over directing myself, because I really kind of know what I'm going for. But man, when I audition myself for stuff, I'm like, I have 26 takes of this for you. Is that too many? You know, because then it's like, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be this. You know, so that I have trouble with. Sometimes it helps when I'm, even when I get sent a lot of auditions, and I, will audition myself, but I will get other people. I'm like, can you come in here and tell me, or sort of direct me through this, because otherwise I'll be here all freaking day. So.
Yeah, self-directing for auditions, it's kind of a crapshoot. Do I even need this? Is it going to be recorded? With the microphones and you need me to speak?
No, that's just going to stare at us.
I direct, and I started off as an actor. I typically never wanted to cast myself, because one, not that good. And only I know that. I've fooled a lot of people.
Right.
But because I really believe in the collaborative process when a director works with an actor, and if you are open to it, greater than the sum of the parts of each of your ideas can be born. So I would immediately just cut off the opportunity to have all this other influence for the piece if I just use myself. Also, it's harder to be objective about yourself. If you're going to watch it back after every take, then that's going to take forever and it's weird. So I tried not to cast myself. But on occasion, I was stuck, or the client cast me, and so I had to do it. I recently did a piece called Patima Inverted.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Nice, we have one. Bonus points. But I had to record it by myself because I was cast by the client. I was going to be in LA being directed by someone that I work with, Stephanie Shea, who's fantastic. But I happened to be in New York on Easter and recorded myself on Easter by myself until 3 in the morning. And it was pretty arduous, actually. And I set up my studio so that I can remote control everything, run Pro Tools on the monitor in the booth, even my mic preamp, which you would sometimes have to set for when you get louder or quieter, is USB controlled and has an app, so I can control the the compressor, Pro Tools, and everything from inside the booth. But so now I'm doing all this crap. So I'm engineering myself, directing myself, recording myself, editing myself, and missing Easter. Sorry, Jesus. I know it was your rebirthday. And that's,
He's out in the hallway there.
oh
right?
yeah, with the
He was there to help you.
space
Very
cross.
disappointed.
But sorry, so this is on Sunday. I shouldn't be doing that.
I already made a Catholic joke about self-directing. It's cool.
Nice. It was very hard, and what I tried, I've really tried to not get into, like, I tried to change my aesthetic for when I direct myself. I don't know if this makes any sense, but there was a lot of things about the character. He's sort of a dull guy who then meets this girl whose gravity is the opposite of his, so she falls up. And it's weird. So she can't be out in the open, or she'll just go up into space and disappear. And at some point, they have to hold each other, and they need each other, and she can make him sort of fly, because he's a little heavier. and they counterweight each other. Anyway, so this extraordinary thing happens to a plain guy. So it was really hard for me to make myself be very plain and not try to jazz it up too much, because I thought the original was also, I mean, it's a beautiful piece, but there was something dull, and it was hard for me to let myself, when I had total control over everything, to be dull and flat. But that's what I think the piece needed. And then weirdly, they premiered it somewhere where Stephanie was with Chris Sabat, and Chris was like, "Hey, who's that guy?" And she was like, "Oh, that dude's really good." And she's like, "It's Michael Sinterniklaas." He's like, "Oh, really? Oh, it's
Oh, well, forget it then.
Oh,
The
yeah,
most
good."
spot-on
So, and for auditions, I heard this thing, because if you're recording yourself for auditions and you don't have any direction, you are tempted to do a million takes.
Yeah.
The voice of Naruto, the American voice of Naruto, told my old Donatello, Sam Riegel, "Yeah, I just do one take and get rid of it." And I was like, how could you do that? And I have the power to edit and mix and do all these things, but I've started doing that, and it's been a good discipline to just be like, well, maybe I'll do a second if I'm like, oh shit, whoops, a beep, in case I swear during the first take. No do-overs here. But it's made me bring more to the first take and decide I have to do one thing. I would like to submit multiples sometimes, but I know some people who hate getting multiples.
Yeah.
So if you're going to self-submit anything, if you're aspiring young actors.
Do you, when you have people submit to you, do you tell them just one?
I don't specify that.
Okay.
But I do get, and actually this happened very recently. We're doing this big union game in New York, and we're looking for very specific invented accents for Just Cause 3. I can now talk about it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about Just Cause 3. It's going to be killer. It's going to be the cover of next month's Game Informer. Christmas edition. And it was down to 2 guys for this one part we were recasting, and they both had 2 takes. Yeah. You read for that, right? Yeah.
Sure.
We're not done yet. We had one guy submit 2 takes that were pretty much identical, and one guy do 2 very different takes. The other sound lead from the client preferred the guy with the 2 identical takes, but the rest of us preferred the other guy. Anyway, one of the things that came down to was, if this guy had an opportunity to do 2 takes and they were identical, maybe he doesn't have a lot of variety, or maybe he's bad at taking direction. So I've had other game directors tell me that if they hear someone submit 2 identical takes, I mean 2 darn similar,
Right.
then they immediately throw it out as a tell they're not that versatile.
Right.
So that's made me either not do multiple takes or do very, very, very different takes, only when I think they're 2 hugely, vastly different things. Not just subtle colors, so this is a little more natural.
Right,
or-
okay. That
so-
makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's really a choice A or choice B rather than choice A and choice A minus.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that's my whole long-winded.
No, thank you for saying that. Like,
Suddenly appreciate that. Like, I have to go record myself
Taking
right now.
notes.
I gotta
Taking
get
notes. Taking notes.
That's why I didn't get all those roles. Also, actors, it's very hard, and it's a discipline an actor really needs to get into is the understanding that as an actor you are part of a tapestry, and it's something that I didn't really get until I directed. Like no matter what kind of media you do as an actor, you're like, I know I'm just the guy who walks in and says yes sir and takes something away, but I'm going to be the best. Everybody's going to remember me for that. And it's this actor thing that as a director I learned you got to get over, because sometimes you're just the dude who brings a glass of water. And so because of that, when self-directing, you don't have somebody going in and going, you just need to get the water, bro. And somebody like, no, I'm gonna go at it, and I'm gonna have this like cool subtext about how I hate the guy. I'm like, because as an actor, you were taught, give all this subtext and stuff. Sometimes
There's
bring
no
in the
small
glass of
parts.
water. There's no small parts.
Just
Yes,
small
there are.
Nah, it's totally not
Yes,
a lie,
there are.
man. They're totally small parts.
And that's fine. Do it. It's great to have small parts. I mean, actually, as a
Whoa,
theater guy,
what?
sometimes
It's not about
it's okay.
Sorry,
It's
it's a
okay.
part.
No, but as a theater guy, like I actually, and I think we talked about this.
Oh, Tom Stoppard's the real thing. I had a character who came in just at the end, just the very last scene, and I didn't have to show up till curtain. Didn't have to get ready till the second act, and it was same equity paycheck, so I didn't care, man. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes small parts can be fun.
Great.
That's a really important thing. I think there's a tendency to be, like, oh, it's my chance, or look at me, or make it interesting. That was my thing about Padma Inverted, is to not jazz it up too much, just to like, even if and I hated most of the takes, but I was like, I think this is right for the thing. My first union job, okay, so there's a Screen Actors Guild, and to get in, you have to already be in, basically.
Yeah.
It's really hard. You have to do a union show, but to be in a union show, you have to be union to get cast. So it's really hard to get in to a union show if you're not in the union, which you need to get on that show to get in the union. So
You gotta be born in the building.
Can you? Yeah, I'm making a vampire Cinderella's yawn. Alice, yeah, it's future Alice from space. Or maybe you're from Ratatouille. All right, and then you're space Ratatouille. Giannis, I'm sorry. I'll be concise. But for the first thing I did, it was Matlock. Yeah, ask your parents. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I didn't order that actually. I saw it on
I should have bought prizes. You can have half of my bread. Yeah, it was Matlock. So I go in there. I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I started doing anime. And
I'm sorry, I haven't heard of Matlock since my grandma was watching it. That used to be the joke, watching Matlock with your grandma. This is amazing.
I'm as old as your grandma. And so, and your grandma was a huge fan. She sent me a lot of fan mail. And on my birthday, $5 checks. It was awesome.
No, she sends nude pictures to Cinder. That's actually how we know each other. He was like, you were crazy.
Remember this one? Oh! Your grandma's so cool. So all these other actors are there in the room. It's like, you know, all these great actors I know from town are like, oh, I've got this great idea. It's a pizza guy. It's what the line was, I don't have change for 100. That was it, right? And they're like, oh, I got this great idea. And then they're coming out of the room. Yeah, well, I maybe went off script a little bit. I couldn't memorize my one line. But, so they all come out of the room going, oh yeah, I nailed it, I killed it, I had them laughing, all that stuff. It was so cool. I had this whole backstory to this thing where I, you know, it was like, hey old man. So I was like, oh, I really didn't, I didn't see what I could do with this. It's just, so I go in the room and it's the Fincannon Casting Associates and I go, hey Mark, this is the producer from the show. It's nice, okay. And this is Michael. Hi, yeah, awkward. Hi, Michael, I'm awkward. And they're like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, I don't have change for 100. Okay, thanks, bye. Yeah, and I left. And then when I got the call, I was like, what?
You know, but you know what? Sometimes it's about when you're looking at whatever the situation, where this little character, the walk-on guy, fits in or whatever. What is this scene about? What is it going on here?
It's about Matlock.
Yeah, right, exactly. Is it about the guy who
It's about the $100 bill because the killer had hundreds.
Right.
He wants to get the serial number.
But you know what I'm saying is if you try and like, I'm going to turn all the focus on me.
Yeah.
But if that's not what the focus of the scene is, then you are distracting. You're getting in the way.
And that's what
that's not what they
I always
want.
say to actors anyway, especially young actors, that if you want to get rid of the fear or the stage fright or anything, you focus on your fellow player on stage, give them your attention and take it off of yourself. And that's what keeps you, and it also makes your fellow actors look better, and that in turn makes you look better, because if you think they're awesome, then you look awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I get to the shoot, and I'm like, oh, I'm on set. Here's Andy Griffith right here. My agent was like, do not look at, do not talk to. He's a mean old man. Don't engage with any of it. I ended up talking to him. It was a weird exchange, but I helped him with some technical advice because I'm a nerd. And oh, he was weird. He was salty.
I can't figure out this concern.
His Game Boy was
Opie, fix it.
Yeah.
Opie's been gone for a long time. Whatever, Opie. I'm not Opie.
He's a director now. All you youngins are Opie. So then I'm like, oh, now I'm going to do a whole thing on set. And the director, I get on set and I have a star on my door in the trailer. And I'm like, oh, I'm the pizza guy. I don't have a name, but I'm the pizza guy. And then I have a stand-in. And he's like, oh, I'll tell you what to do. This guy works this job 9 to 5. And then, so I'm being told what to do, and I feel like a big deal. All I've ever done is be in class. You know, maybe a couple of plays, but this was the only TV thing I'd done. And the director, so I'm doing my jazzy, like, oh, this is the best pizza guy ever, Darren. So I actually ordered a pizza the night before and asked the pizza guy, so what's the secret to being a pizza guy? And he was like, I don't know, get a big tip. And I'm like, you get out of here. And then, so I'm on set, and then the director, I don't know what I had done, but it was great. And the director goes, hey kid, we don't have time for an ace. Just say the line. And I was like, what? Oh, yeah, that's how I got the audition, so I don't have change for 100. And then when Andy was fumbling through his wallet, I was a little annoyed because I'm thinking, hey, 30 minutes or less, I got more pizzas in the car. That was too much. Pull back. And it was great. Great. Do less. That's a stupid story.
Nice. All right.
And the same thing walk up to the director goes, you make less of a meal out of that line.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, cool, no problem. Never again. More questions in the back over there with the hair with the stripe. Yeah, that's you.
My characters? Alright. Anyway, so
I'm not insulting.
I know you're defecated.
Anyway, so about SAG, do you like doing union more than non-union projects?
Well,
like
yes,
being
they
paid
are.
more?
Yeah. I mean, as you know, now, coming
That's
away,
it.
I guess, from the directing and writing stuff that this panel is about, and we're going to talk about this. For me, and maybe you guys also feel this way, like acting and directing and writing and all that, I love doing it, it's great, but it is my job. It is how I pay my mortgage, it is how I feed my children. So do I like doing the higher paying job versus the lower? Yeah.
I don't know, but it depends because SAG sometimes, like if you're not as much of a working actor, SAG doesn't really choose you for certain projects, and you can't do projects outside of SAG once you're
Unless
in
you
SAG.
live in Texas.
Or if you're financial core, or if you
Yeah,
just do it
de facto.
anyway,
Yeah.
you can kind of
Yeah.
do whatever you want. And SAG doesn't choose you for anything.
The directors do.
Yeah, the casting people choose you.
Well, yeah, but like, still, you can't do a project outside of that. That's what I was.
You're not supposed to do a project outside of SAG unless you are financial core status, or if you're in a right-to-work
Right
state
to
like
work
Texas. There are a ton of loopholes and
yeah.
other things around that.
And it's interesting because a lot of times you get on the big network shows and you're a guest for a network show and you feel kind of like a meat puppet. And then you get on like a SAG indie low budget $100 a day thing that your buddy's doing and you had to bring your own boom mic. And you love it because it's a great, awesome project that you're working on. So you can be on like this really cool network show and that's good for your bank account and good for residuals, and then the stuff you really love is the sort of the stuff. It always comes down to story. If you're in a good story, that's what makes it fun as an actor.
Yeah.
Union cartoons give you residuals?
No. Well, yes. I mean, it depends on. I mean, yeah. For the most
Depends
part.
on
Like, well,
the-
with
that sounds
the
nice.
union anime stuff, is there residuals with the foreign dubbing contract?
There's a weird,
But like, so the thing like the Venture Brothers is yes.
So
Yeah.
there's a union contract for foreign dubbing, and we used it. I've directed some feature films that were theatrically released, some from France, some from Japan, some from Spain, and we had celebrity talent. So we had to have union contracts. The foreign dubbing agreement under SAG is not a very high-paid contract, so we had to do side deals with celebrities like Forrest Whitaker, Whoopi Goldberg.
Well, pretty much in any project, the SAG rate is the minimum because celebrity talent or a lot of talent, it's what you can negotiate that's above that, right? I mean, yeah. So.
But there are residuals that can kick in. When they first negotiated the foreign dubbing agreement like 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, they had a lower hourly rate just so they could get some residuals later, but it has to play for like 20 years.
Yeah, right.
Not even Naruto, which is
Well, like a
union,
thing like
kicks back.
Pokemon, I think may have paid off had they gone that way because it has gone forever. But who knew? Whereas most things, that's always the way I look at it. Most things, the foreign dubbing agreement, there are effectively no residuals.
Yeah, and you can buy out the contract, so you can give them more upfront to not give them residuals later.
Okay.
That's another thing.
Yeah. But otherwise, like union cartoons that are not under that are straight up, it's just like being in a regular TV show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, but you get to miss out on if you're union, you miss out on shows. I mean, you get to do maybe other shows and other projects, but yeah, residuals, man. As somebody who has done anime for 10 years and not gotten a dime of residual from it, like that would be nice. But at the same time, I like working, and I will continue to work non-union.
Does SAG do a lot of foreign dubbing projects?
Does SAG do a lot of foreign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, my studio does a lot of them.
Well, a lot of it is actually, not just animation, but like live action movies that are dubbed, and a lot of those end up being, union projects too. I mean, you probably had some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I did some for Weinstein Company. I did the one, Tommy Jaw was looking for his elephant. What's that one called?
Like Ong Bak?
Yeah, one of those. My elephant! The whole thing is about my elephant!
The
Protector, thank you, yeah, the elephant protector, the elephant in the room protector.
Nice.
That's been doing a lot of those foreign dubs.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Wait, at Oprah?
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of those.
Awesome. They're funny.
They are. They're great. I like those.
My favorite was Robo Geisha.
Robo-Geisha.
Hey, Robo Geisha!
Yeah,
Oh,
Robo
awesome!
Geisha is. But never
Yeah.
watch that movie. It's horrible. Let's go to the question back there.
Regarding self-directing, I knew that you Mike Sinterniklaas, you were Guy and Gal Geiger for the first half that was dubbed, but I didn't know that you were also the director of that dub. I just looked it up.
Actually,
What was that like?
well, actually, I was directed some of it, And then Marc de Raison, the voice of Guts in Berserk. Dariuson, as a lesser director mispronounces him. He directed me for my guy performance.
Oh, I see.
So I wasn't in there alone for the most. If I do a couple pickups or something, I could run in there with a Bluetooth mouse and boop, 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 boop. Oh, it was before we had Bluetooth mice and keyboards. I had a USB extender that had a connector in the booth.
Yeah,
so it was
a hole in the wall.
So I would record myself on a couple things, but really I was directed by Mark. And it was painful because I yelled a lot, but I loved doing it, and I wish we could have done the second season. And people, don't be mad at me if you're a Gal Geiger fan for not doing the second season. It wasn't my fault. It was my very cheap client, Media Blasters. Email Media Blasters and complain about how cheap.
And that email will go nowhere because they don't exist.
But hey, maybe we can kickstart doing the second season. Woo! I got 3 people who probably want to see that.
Yeah, you did a great job on Gal Geiger. I absolutely loved it. Everyone brought their A game.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I saw the best Gal Geiger cosplay. He had a big cardboard robot suit. It was the full Final Fusion thing. And he had samples from the show in the suit.
In Orlando, right?
So in Orlando. And he would trigger, I don't know how he triggered it because his hands were free. He was like doing all the like, I'm Voltron guy thing. And then my voice would come out of it. Like the theme song, and hear my voice doing like,
that's awesome.
Dividing Driver, or whatever. It was crazy.
That must have been amazing.
But he must have been triggering with his brain or his mouth.
It's like that extremist nanotechnology in Iron Man.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. It's
in his cardboard
the hollows of his bones.
Right. Choose, Mike.
Oh, me? Ratatouille, because future Ratatouille vampire blood.
From space.
We're gonna let you forget that for the record.
Oh, good.
Never.
Yeah, forget me not.
I had a question, sort of for directing and voice acting, which is, as a director, it's very interesting in the contrast between doing voices and voice acting, which involves being able to play a character, do the voice, and also act emotionally. So when directing or auditioning, do you kind of go for the person who can do the most voices, or the person who's most versatile emotion-wise in the range of the voice? And you as yourself as a voice actor, what do you focus on as well when you're auditioning for
People who can act is what you need. I don't give a shit how many voices you can do if you can't act. I have nothing for you, okay? Because that's a thing that a lot of up-and-comers and people who are fans and whatnot who want to get into it, they make the mistake of playing the voice.
Right.
You're not playing the voice, you're playing a character. You're being a person, okay? And if you have this massive wide range and you can do 100 different character voices, that's great. It's a good skill to have if you can act.
You need to be able to do Shakespeare with every voice you do. Like, you have to be versatile.
Well, you don't have to be able to do Shakespeare, but you got to be able to act, you know? I mean, and that's...
I used Emperor Pilaf when I did Petruchio.
But that is the most important thing. Don't look at it the other way. You're not doing voices.
Right.
You're acting.
Exactly.
Okay? So, I mean, you guys...
No,
Hop on that one?
I completely agree. 90% of the time, it's your own voice. We don't. It's nice if you can do Meatwad or whatever, but there's zero need for it. And you're coming in for. It's cool when the actor can come in and you're like, there are these 6 characters that you can audition for, and they give different voices for each one of them. As long as the acting is good on all of them, then they've got a decent shot on all of them. But just because you can sound like this other guy. If your other take where your acting is good and it's your normal voice versus, oh, that's a really cool character sounding voice, but you can't act with the crap with it, we're gonna take the other one. It's voice acting.
Yeah, and as with anything in casting, in addition to being a strong actor, I think in terms of being more like the character, over the years, my work is, I feel like we've gotten more honed in on some real diminishing returns on nuance. Like I'm doing these films with celebrities, so I've actually had to cast really big celebrities that we could not audition, and that's the thing. When they're a really big deal, you have to offer them a part. You can't be like, try yourself to try out for this part. We did that to a couple of famouser people who were a little bit like about it. But so what we do is we'll actually take, since you gave a very good answer, this is a tangential sort of side thing. We'll take clips of things, and actually, speaking of Ratatouille, but not from space or bloody, I know Patton Oswalt, and he told me that Pixar just took his stand-up and animated against his stand-up to see does this mouse sound like this? A rat, sorry, no, different tail.
Space, I don't think it matters anymore.
No, you're like from the future.
The one studio.
So what we'll do is we'll take clips for something with ADR. We'll take clips of actors that we're considering, and then we'll edit it against the picture. Even if they're not saying anything remotely connected to the scene, we'll just sort of hear the voices come out, and we'll shoot that back and forth. And we'll talk a lot about like the kind of roles they play, what kind of characters are thematic in the roles they've chosen, and that's really important. Even if you're not a celebrity yet. Acting is really important, but I listen for really subtle things that make this person feel more like that character. Like we did Letter to Momo, Dana Snyder's in it, he's amazing. But there was this one, we cast a real little girl to be the little girl. She's like 12. And she was amazing, but she had to be really kind of emo and sad over the loss of her father, who she was angry at when he died, and now she's blaming her mother for not caring more. So it's a really complex, sad, not like fun kiddie thing to do. We found this one girl who nailed it, but her voice was a little too young. By the time we started recording, it aged up a little bit. Perfect. But we found a boy who sounded like 16. He was acting. I couldn't tell if he was a good or bad actor, but there was this vibe. And I was actually in Hawaii doing another convention when I heard the audition. I don't know if this is even interesting anymore. But the kid reminded me of who I was hearing. And in this movie, it takes place on a small island. And he just felt so like, oh, you know, like sort of plain and island boy-y. Turns out he went to NYU, but he's from Hawaii, he's 21, and even his articulation sounded a little soft, kind of like a younger man, even though he's 21, and it just sounded perfect. It didn't sound like acting. It sounded like some kid who's like, oh yeah, I'm a little awkward, but okay.
Well, that's what you want, especially when you're using young people. You don't want acting, you want reality as best you can, and that's with acting what you're trying to, in a lot of ways, recapture anyway. I mean, sometimes, obviously, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that, you're not capturing reality. But you know, it's something like what Mike's talking about, which is much more subtle. Yeah, you know, less is more.
And you can't necessarily control all that. It's who you are. So like embrace who you are, because no one else is going to be better than you at that. And you're not going to be better than Tom at doing what Tom does. So don't try to be like, well, I can do a Tom voice, which is not that voice.
There's a Tom out there, and if they want Tom Wayland, they're going to Tom Wayland.
And you know what? That is the thing with people, yes, who do impressions or copy someone else's performance. Like when you brought up like Meatwad, it's like, well, if I really want Meatwad, I'll go get Meatwad.
Yeah, I always tell young actors because they'll come up to the table and say, let me show you my whatever voice, the imitation that they do. And I say, great, do that. That's great that you can do an imitation, but you're locked into that. If you really want to be an actor, like some of the best voices I find by doing bad imitations of other characters and turn it into something that's my own.
Yeah, you want to create.
Yeah, because Emperor Pilaf was my best imitation of Edith Bunker from All in the Family. Oh, Archie! You know, and then that just turned into the character. But it was also just a really easy way to sort of place my voice in the range. So you don't always have to imitate somebody. Take it and make it your own.
And I'm trying to think of a situation where, like, being able to do, like, just voices would even come close. And I'm thinking maybe, I'm trying to go through this in my head. I'm like, maybe Pokemon, because that'd be nice to be able to, I can do a giant thing. But if you are like, I can't act, but I can make this noise, you're going to go for the guy who makes the noise a little bit less well, but can still put nuance into that sound.
Yeah, well, playing the creatures, though, that's the thing that people, I don't know if everybody gets, like, they're characters. They have emotions.
Yeah.
They're, you know, you're not just making a noise. And that is the thing where, because I haven't directed Pokemon the whole way. I've done it the last 7 years, so I'm like in my 8th season. And that is a big thing where I came in and said, I want to fix this, because a lot of the old school Pokemon sound just way too much like I'm saying a name. And that sucks. I like to try and explain to people, I'm like, Pikachu is not a thing that says Pikachu. Pikachu is an animal that makes a noise that sounds like Pikachu. You know? Yeah. And then, but it does have intelligence and emotion, but, you know, and the whole key to doing good Pokemon, by the way, is under-enunciation.
Vin Diesel, good example as Groot. I mean, just saying the same thing over and over again, have it mean
and you can feel it. You know, I mean, a lot of it is also everything else that's going on around it, but you can feel it. And it's like the woman who plays Pikachu is so expressive. So you always know what she means. And to put it in a nerdy sound design thing, Ben Burt, when he does the R2-D2 noises and Wally and things like that, you get the emotion, you get the intention, and there's not a word said. So.
Honestly, one of the hardest characters I've ever done, and I've tried not to mention it around you because I don't want to sound too fanboy. It was like, I was like, this is my Pokemon. All I say is Chuck. and I have to Chuck throughout this entire show.
What was this?
And
What
give
show?
him penny and stocking. I play a little dog named Chuck, and that's all he says.
Okay.
I had the same line count as the leads. I'm just in the background going, Chuck. You have to come up with, how do you say this terrified? How do you add a little quiver? How do you make that little quiver now sound boring?
It's like Meisner exercises where it's just like
yeah.
you just attach the emotion to whatever words, and you should be able to. Anyway, all right. How about in the front row here? You've been dying for something.
How much communication is necessary between an actor and a director?
How much communication?
Yeah, how much communication is necessary between a director and an actor?
If you cast the right actor,
How much
much
communication?
less communication. I mean, like a lot of the director's job is in casting the right person, getting that. Because if you cast the wrong person, you need a lot of communication. If you cast the right person, your job is 80% done.
That's it's an interesting question, actually. I mean, I think a lot of communication, but how efficiently can you do that?
Yeah.
I find I've done a lot of. I used to direct a lot more. I would go on for like 5 minutes talking about something that was going to be a grunt, but I'm like, oh, but you need to understand like why you're grunting, and then they'd be like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I've definitely been the like I'll take too many takes of a grunt. Sorry for anyone that I've ever had to direct, but I really believe that I worked on a few shows, or prelay shows, really big shows on TV, and the director.
Do people know what prelay is? Did you cover
Sorry, not ADR, not dubbing, not anime, like original American shows where you record the performances first, and then they time the mouths and animate to your performance. That guy in the second row, that's a really nice bearded Fonz costume. Anyway, right? Is that Fonz? All right, cool. I love it. Love Happy Days. So, anyway, I was surprised that they weren't giving me more direction. I was like, these are like top directors from Hollywood, and they're just like, good, go for it, okay, good, or they'd say like one little thing, and it made me bring more for my very first take than I would have if I was like being explained everything. I'm like, well, you can tell me what you want, but that's your responsibility to come up with it all. Anyway, so I try to be very efficient and engage the imagination of the actor, but not say too much so that I'm thinking for them.
Right.
If they don't bring their own thinking, and we replaced a guy on a big show for Cartoon Network because he would do whatever we said, but he never brought his own thing, and therefore it never really breathed life into the character. It was just like, I'm doing the thing, and I'm hitting all the marks. And it was flat, flat, flat. And when you bring your own thing, like, best performances, I think, on TV, they bring a lot of their own personality, and it's stuff that no one else can do better than you, because it's
That's
you.
right.
But sometimes I think saying less and letting them fill in the blanks, or letting them come up with the idea, even if you're sort of steering them, can be more effective than saying a lot of stuff.
Doing ADR when you're matching picture, that is like maybe one of the most managerial styles of directing, because you go line by line.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of the technical aspect, because of the sync and whatnot, you kind of got to go one line at a time. So you have the micromanaging directing a little bit where you can set up every line. I mean, for me, I like to set up the actor like, this is what's going on, this is who you are, this is what you know, this is what's happening, and and then now go, do, you know what I mean? I've given you enough, now you give me. And then hopefully I just have to nudge them in the direction, with prelay stuff, there is, you really want to, in that, you're not doing a line at a time so much, you're playing through scenes. It was like, let's do this whole scene, and you play out the whole scene, and then...
It's much more like theater.
Exactly, yes, it is a lot like theater. And then, you can hit spots and stuff, and if necessary, you know what, let's just pick up this line, but you want that flow,
And I'll say, as an actor, for anyone aspiring, I started off doing anime. I mean, I started off, doing classical theater. I went to a conservatory, and I went to the Fame High School. But when I started working in animation, it was ADR, and it was awesome because I auditioned for something, and then I was like, excuse me, Adam, if you have no one coming in right away, can I just see what you're recording? And then I saw my voice immediately come out of a finished animation, and I was like, holy mind blown. And it was also Bubblegum Crisis, which I was a big fan of, and so I got to audition for one of my favorite things. It was crazy. I barely have any brains left from that one experience, but when I started, that's what exactly. But when I started doing prelay, and I think, I did some other things, but for animation, the first prelay thing I did was Ninja Turtles, I think, and I went in there.
starting small.
Yeah. Only like I crashed the audition and then was handpicked by the creator, one of the two creators, and so boom, and I felt like I was going to be fired the whole first season. It was like they got the wrong guy, they don't know it, how long can I keep this charade up? But when but the thing that I learned, and the bad habit I learned from anime was, when you're doing anime, you can see all the choices are made for you.
Yeah.
Like, how far away is the person they're talking to? Proximity, I think, is one of the little magic secrets of doing voice acting.
Yeah.
Is a guy like right here?
Are you
Is a guy over
indoors?
there?
Are you outdoors?
Yeah.
And things like that.
Inside voice. If you're falling off a ledge, how far is it? But like all these things, if you read a script without a lot of descriptions, and we would typically on that show at least get a line script, so there are no descriptions at all, just line, so it's easier during the recording. And then the director has to say, "Oh, okay, you guys are fighting, go!" And
Did you not get scripts beforehand?
in the beginning, we got storyboards, which were like 400 pages of like a comic book, and we got full scripts with descriptions. But then when they started sending us scripts, line scripts. But I was like, which way? I mean, this could go a million different ways, and it's your job to come up with one. Be creative and just come up with one. Don't wait to be told, or you won't get hired as much again. And that's what they're looking to. If you do something wrong, they'll tell you something else to do. And if you're spectacularly wrong, they'll laugh and tell you do something else. But they'll love it. And the worst thing you can do is not go for it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of making big mistakes. Like
Sometimes you use them.
Yeah, sometimes they end up, you make this incredible, stupid mistake, and they're like, never would have thought of it, that was perfect.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah. How he does what he does, who knows?
That's how his parents view it.
I have to sneak out and pee. I drank 6 bottles. I'm really sorry. It's like turning yellow.
That was the worst sneaking out ever.
Don't mind me, I'm going to cross in front here.
There's also a weird thing, and I guess you could kind of do it in prelay, I guess. I have 0 experience in prelay. But like I had some actors that wanted me to tell them everything that happened in the series. Okay, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna do this, then these guys are gonna kidnap that
Tell
guy.
them the things that haven't happened yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because some of them were like, well, where's my character going? What's my arc? How can I foreshadow and all that?
But your character doesn't, at that moment, doesn't know where it's going. I mean, whatever.
Well, no, sometimes it's like you're really the killer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or some actors said that, and then some actors said, if you tell me what happens in the next scene, I will punch you.
Well, yeah, but you gotta tell them what they know. Yeah, if you're secretly the bad guy and you know that, you wanna.
But no, I had someone who's like, how's it end? And I'm like, oh, you want to know now? You're not going to be all teary when you record. All right, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a thing, because when you're shooting a film and you've done that, you don't shoot movies in sequence. You do it based on all the locations and who's available and whatever. So you may do the ending first. So as an actor, you're faking it, So knowing how it ends shouldn't ruin it for you. But when you do have the opportunity and I remember when we did Revolutionary Girl Utena, a big thing happens in the end of the second to last episode, and I told them, I was like, do not tell her, do not show her, I want you just to record it and see what she does, And she freaked out, which is what we were hoping for, Yeah.
The lead?
Huh?
The lead voice actors?
Yeah.
That was Rachel though?
Yeah, and I'm not saying what it is just in case anyone hasn't watched it yet.
It's
For
cool.
spoilers, so shut up. Yeah, it's when she turns into a car. Yeah, that's in the movie.
Like Turbo
Boy's
Team.
dream.
Listen, I asked Ikuhara about that. I'm like, so what's up? He's like, I don't know. I just felt like doing it. I'm like, really? He's like, yep. It doesn't mean anything. Awesome. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So another question. We're gonna go Outlaw Star right there. Yeah.
What was the turning point to actually push you in that direction of your profession?
What do you mean?
Like as far as like that turning point, that I was like, okay, I'm gonna start being like a voice actor.
Sucking at everything else?
Yep. Okay.
I was a college student. I found a way to pay my bills. Well, not pay my bills, to make extra money with anime, and then I just kept doing it. But more than that, I'm a very needy person who needs attention. Love me. So that's why I became an actor.
It's great for insecurities because most of your job is rejection. Actually, statistically, you will not get more jobs than you will get. So you have to live with that. I think for me, I was a fan of anime before, and then and all animation, but I watched a lot of anime back in a time when you had to go mine it from the hills on your own. They didn't have the internet giving it to you. But But I think when I finally got an audition, and I was like, this was really important to me, and I went in there, and then I got to see myself play back out of an animated mouth, and changed my life, and that's kind of what I've been doing since then.
Yeah, there's very few people who like set out, who are doing what we do, who set out from the get-go being like, I am going to voice anime or direct or blah. You just end up in it. I went to school at NYU. I have a degree in acting. And I was getting into doing theater, but then I got really sick of everybody I went to school with because actors suck. And
My experience. For years, I didn't say I was an actor. I was like, I am an engineer.
Yeah.
I'm a
well, yeah,
doer of things that are not self-serving.
in acting school, you have a lot of people use it as therapy, and I was just tired of that. But also, I got into playing in bands when I was in college, and had some success there. And then I was like, well, screw it, I'm going to be a rock star. That's, so that's what I did for a little while. Like I just played music, and that was my job, sort of scraping by with that, but having a really good time. But then, what led me into anime was, poverty, because we broke up and had to get a job, and in a roundabout way, I ended up, finding an ad in the New York Times for a producer position at a place called Central Park Media, which was in New York City.
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, like every other anime company in New York City. But I ended up getting hired as a producer for them because when I was with the bands, I learned some recording technology, and I was just a smart guy and good at talking my way into places. And I did, because I needed a job, and this sounded interesting.
Do you like the cut of your jib?
He did. Well, I told him, I was like, I am the smartest person you could ever possibly hire. And he's like, really? He's like, all right. He's like, we're going to see if you can live up to that, And he liked that, because I, stood up to him. Because the boss man there was one of the most intimidating people on earth. Yeah, he was.
His name was John O'Donnell, but everyone called him J.O.D.
Yeah. I still run into him on occasion because he still has an apartment like around the corner from Detroit. But anyway, and then, I was producing, and very soon I was directing, and I didn't get into acting. Now, I had been an actor and was still doing some acting, like I was doing theater and stuff on occasion. But once I went off on my own and freelanced all the production gigs, then there wasn't like a conflict of interest, which there would have been had I been in other companies' shows while I was with Central Park Media. But I had set up all these relationships with all these studios all over town that suddenly I could be like, hey, audition me, and I wouldn't be like, oh, you got to give me a part. It's like, give me an audition and we'll see what I can do. And then you know started booking stuff.
And Tom always said, hey, I'm not right for it, don't give it to me. But like, if someone right for it, then why not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you know what? Honestly, as an actor, you don't want a part you're not right for.
God. No, it's the worst. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Sometimes people are like,
plays like that.
Yeah, they want to be in a thing, and it's like, this isn't going to be good for me. It's not going to be good for you. Thank you, but let's a better part. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I went to school in Chicago and quit college to start working at the Steppenwolf and Goodman theaters there, and did theater there for 10 years. And then my family got bigger and bigger. I got 6 kids, so we moved to where it was cheaper. And I was in Texas, and there are a lot of Texas actors who have careers because Funimation had no idea what they were doing. And Funimation put like an ad in the back of like the local paper, can you talk good, come audition for us. They didn't like do it through casting directors or anybody, so they had no idea what they were doing in the beginning. And a buddy of mine came into rehearsals one day. We had an improv group, and this is how you get into the business, is by actually being an actor. It's always somebody you know, and you meet somebody and you bump into somebody else and you're in the industry. It's never going to happen like, oh, I heard your voice in a crowd and now you're an anime star. It doesn't work like that. But he just said, here's this number, you should go audition for this Dragon Ball Z thing. And I did, and I got it, and then 17 years later I'm still doing it. So it was purely accidental. I think the universe knew I needed something to do in Texas, or I'd be bored.
Yeah, well, you, Mike, you put an ad out in the paper once, right? I remember hearing the story.
Once. But it was in a proper industry rag.
An industry rag. Yeah.
It was the backstage. But anyone can buy it off the newsstand, and I got 600 tapes of crap. I mean, tapes, linear media. And crap. I got 2 good people out of there. One of them is Mike Pollock, who we still both work with to this day. He's amazing.
Yeah, just started Sonic Boom last weekend.
Yeah,
it's Dr. Eggman.
So proud of him. He's a wonderful man and a real talent. and I forget the other one.
But that person was really good.
It was
at
really
Metal
good. It was a
Life
good time.
up until this moment.
Not as good as Mike Pollock, I'm sure, because he didn't make the final cut there. But I mean, there were just the weirdest things I've ever heard. There was one. There was just some guy who was like, "Hey, people tell me like my stories. Here's a story. It's the old guy. He's living in a apartment by himself, and he's got a caretaker. He comes in upstairs. He's like, swearing, hey, and he's like expletives and swearing. And I was like, that's an interesting choice. And then so the guy's like, hey, beep you. Hey, push him down the stairs. And he kills him. Hope you like the story. See you soon. I was like, no. I'm not gonna see you soon. I was like, how is that? I didn't say his name. Oh no, it's just Sal. People like my story. She's one. I was like, really? I don't understand what you're thinking. So that was things like that. It was pretty rough.
You know, it's interesting. I just had there's a friend of mine I was talking to, but I had always been someone that like you should have hope. Like if you want a career in this industry, you should have hope. And I am now anti-hope. And I'm going to tell you why. And this was described to me in a very clear way. If you have hope, your hope springs out of a foundational belief that you are not going to make it. So that hope is founded on something that says you can't do it. But if you work and you don't have hope and you're just like, I'm going to work day by day in the right way with the right people in the right classes, the right schooling, the right industry, and you don't have hope, you just have a work ethic, you'll succeed really well. But if you have like, every time you get hope for an audition, it's because, oh God, you might be crushed by it. So when I sort of let go of hope, I was, I know it's really not
interesting.
Not something to say, but hope always springs out of this foundational belief that is stronger that says you can't do it or you're not going to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a weird realization the other
Open
day.
despair.
You get a lot of those. I have a good voice. People tell me I have a good voice, and that's good. But that's like saying I have legs, and you're a marathon running team. I can join, right? And it's like, well, have you ever run before? Oh, not really. I mean, I walked fast a couple times.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I always say to people is, because some people are like, but I really want to do this. And I'm like, well, if really wanting to do a thing qualified you to do that thing, I would be on the Yankees.
Yeah.
But I'm not, because really wanting to do it doesn't qualify you.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll add that I don't think I have a particularly attractive voice. I cannot be heard in loud situations, which is why I keep eating this mic. I don't sound like a man, which has been to help my career a little bit. I get to play voice. But I mean, I don't look like a woman. This one was like, you what? What did you sound like? A mom? No, I don't. But I do, and I have people come in all the time. I sound reedy and nasal sometimes, and I just don't whatever. So if I get nasal reedy characters, great. But for me, I really try to work on my acting. And to that point, at my ripe old age, having gone to a conservatory and a high school they made movies and TV series about, and having gone to the Oscars for stuff, like I'm in the industry. I found a spot. But I'm now taking 2 acting classes, which is actually like one too many, but I'm in class. I just started taking it. It's great, and it's all about that. And people ask all the time, like, what do I do to get in the business? I don't know what to do. Well,
Take a class.
Yeah.
one of the things you can do is just start doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, like it's better than wondering and like not trying something. Put something out there, and the class is huge. And like Chuck said, like you'll meet people. Most of the people I know in the industry were referred. You know, and
we
always
meet
ask people,
actors through other actors. That is how we do it.
My film career is through referrals and getting to know yourself, to know people and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I watch anime, I know what it sounds like, I don't need to go to a class, and there's no class for anime. Well, I'm in class, and I'm older than you are, like pretty much everyone in this room. And, hey, I'm on TV and stuff, and I'm a union actor, but I'm in class, so if it's not too bad.
Jason Griffith, who's one of the more successful actors in New York that I work with. I mean, this guy's showing up on TV and stuff. He's doing feature films, and he's still, doing cartoon and video game stuff with me and all that. Jason is always taking classes. He does a thing with some actor friends where they get scenes and videotape themselves doing them and then sit and watch them and break it down like it's a goddamn football game.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's mind-blowing. Well, he's like, I'm going to make another sports analogy. None of you are going to get because we're an anime guy, but he's like Tony Gwynn watched more video than anybody. He would just, after every game, and this is guys who's one of the greatest hitters of all time, 338 lifetime batting average, and he would just sit and watch video of his swing. I mean, this dude had won you know, half a dozen batting titles, he still was doing that. He won another half a dozen, he's still doing that, you know, because you can always learn something that.
And with Chuck's point, it's not about the career or the success, it's about the work.
Yeah.
And if you can focus on that, then other things will fall into place, and
Yeah.
that's like a true.
And there's this great quote that Ira Glass put out called The Gap about how, like, the only way that you can ever come near to reaching your potential is by doing a lot of work, doing a lot of whatever you're doing. If you're a writer, get up and, like, I know writers that said, when I was a kid, I heard that, you know, I'm supposed to write in a journal every day because if you write a little bit every day, it helps. No, like, literally doing it is what is going to make you better at it. Like, because you're gonna suck really bad when you start. Like, that's just how it starts. Even if you're brilliant, like when your first day, if then a brilliant person then works 10 years, they're going to be voice acting Jesus because they've made that
Space
potential.
Jesus.
Yeah, voice acting space Jesus. Ratatouille Jesus.
Ratatouille space vampire.
Future vampire.
Future vampire space Jesus.
Because only by doing a lot of work can you reach your own potential. How many more minutes?
We're basically done.
All right.
And I think that was a good place to wrap it up because that
With space Jesus.
Space Jesus.